as we are discussing about torsion. However, in this part of lecture, we will study about circular bars of linearly elastic materials. So in this lecture, we will derive the expressions of maximum shear stress at the outer surface and shear stress at an interior of the bar. We will also study about torsional formula and polar moment of inertia, with a brief discussion on angle of twist, torsional stiffness and torsional flexibility. So let's start. Circular bars of linearly elastic materials. We already discussed about the shear strains in a circular bar in torsion with the help of these figures. Now we are ready to determine the directions and magnitudes of the corresponding shear stresses. The directions of the stresses can be determined by inspection as illustrated in figure. We observed that torque T tends to rotate the right hand end of the bar counterclockwise when viewed from the right. Therefore, the shear stress acting on a stress element located on the surface of the bar will have the directions shown in the figure. For clarity, the stress element is enlarged in the figure here, where both the shear strain and the shear stresses are shown. As explained in previous sections, we draw the stress element in two dimensions, but we must always remember that the stress element are actually three-dimensional objects with the thickness perpendicular to the plane of the figure. So, however, the magnitudes of the shear stresses can be determined from the strains by using the stress-strain relation for the material of the bar. If the material is linearly elastic, we can use Hooke's law in shear as tau is equal to G gamma. In this equation, G is actually the shear modulus of elasticity and gamma is the shear strain in radians. Now combining this equation with the equations of shear strains, first we see the equation of shear strain at the outer surface of the bar. The equation is expressed as, we already discussed these equations in previous lecture. Gamma max is equal to r theta, that is also equal to r phi over L. In this equation, after replacing gamma with tau over G, the equation for maximum shear stress becomes tau max is equal to G r theta. Now we will see the equation of shear strains within the bar. The equation is gamma max is equal to rho theta, that can also be written as rho over r gamma max. And once again put the value of gamma, that is tau over G, in this equation for shear stress, and the equation now can be expressed as tau is equal to G rho theta. And from the equation of tau max, that is tau max is equal to gr theta, G will be equal to tau max over r theta. So put tau max over r theta in place of G and the equation becomes rho over r tau max. So in these equations, actually tau max is the shear stress at the outer surface of the bar, that is in radians, and tau is the shear stress at the interior point at radius rho, and theta is the rate of twist. In these equations, theta has units of radians per unit of length. So the equations of maximum stresses at the outer surface of the bar and the shear stress at an interior point show that the shear stress vary linearly with the distance from the center of the bar, as illustrated by the triangular stress element here in figure. This linear variation of stress is a consequence of Hooke's law. If the stress-strain relation is non-linear, the stresses will vary non-linearly and other methods of analysis will be needed. The shear stresses acting on a cross-sectional plane are accompanied by shear stresses of the same magnitude acting on longitudinal planes. This conclusion follows from the fact that equal shear stresses always exist on mutually perpendicular planes. If the material of the bar is weaker in shear on longitudinal planes than on cross-sectional planes, as is typical of wood when the grains runs parallel to the axis of the bar, the first cracks due to torsion will appear on the surface in the longitudinal direction. The state of pure shear at the surface of a bar is equivalent to equal tensile and compressive stresses acting on an element oriented at an angle of 45 degree. Therefore, a rectangular element with sides at 45 degree to the axis of the shaft will be subjected to tensile and compressive stresses as shown here in figure. If a Torrion bar is made of a material that is weaker in tension than in shear, failure will occur in tension along an helix inclined at 45 degree to the axis, as you can demonstrate it by twisting a piece of classroom chalk. Torrion formula. The next step in our analysis is to determine the relationship between the shear stresses and the torque T. Once this is accomplished, we will be able to calculate the stresses and strain in a bar due to any set of applied torques. The distribution of the shear stresses acting on a cross section is pictured in figure here. Because these stresses act continuously across the cross section, they have a resultant in the form of a moment equal to the torque T acting on the bar. To determine this resultant, we consider an element of area dA located at radial distance ρ from the axis of the bar. The shear force acting on this element is equal to tau dA, where tau is the shear stress at radius ρ. The moment of this force about the axis of the bar is equal to the force times its distance from the center, or we can also express it as tau rho dA. And we know that the equation of shear stress is tau is equal to g rho theta, and also expressed it as rho over r tau max. So substitute tau from this equation. We can also express the elemental moment as dm, that is equal to tau rho dA, and after substituting tau from the above equation, we can also express this equation as tau max over r rho square dA. The resultant moment equal to the torque T is the summation over the entire cross-sectional area of all the such elements. So the torque can be expressed as T is equal to integral dm. Dm is actually the elemental moment. After replacing dm with tau max over r rho square dA, here tau max over r is the constant quantities, so the integral with rho square dA, in which rho square dA is the polar moment of inertia of the circular cross section, and it is symbolized with Ip. So the equation becomes tau max over r Ip. However, for a circle of radius r and diameter d, the polar moment of inertia is expressed as It, that is equal to pi r4 over 2. However, by replacing r with d by 2, the equation becomes pi d4 over 32. It is important to note that the moment of inertia have units of length to the fourth power. However, an expression for the maximum shear stress can be obtained by rearranging the equation of Torrion, that is T is equal to tau max over r Ip. After rearranging for maximum shear stress tau max, the equation becomes Tr over Ip. This equation known as the Torrion formula. And it shows that the maximum shear stress is proportional to the applied torque T and inversely proportional to the polar moment of inertia Ip. In SI units, the torque is usually expressed in Newton meters, the radius in meter, and polar moment of inertia in meters to the fourth power, m4. However, substituting r with d by 2, the equation for polar moment of inertia becomes pi d4 over 32 as discussed. We get the following equation for the maximum stress after introducing the polar moment of inertia pi d by 4 over 32 into the equation of tau max. The equation becomes 16t over pi d cube. However, this equation applies only to bars of solid circular cross section. I am repeating, this equation applies only to bar of solid circular cross section, whereas the Torrion formula applies to both solid bars and circular tubes. This equation shows that the shear stress is inversely proportional to the cube of the diameter. Thus, if the diameter is double, the stress is reduced by a factor of 8. The shear stress at distance rho from the center of the bar is tau, as we already discussed in previous sections. Tau is equal to rho over r. tau max. And after replacing it with Taurian formula, the Taurian, as we know that the Taurian formula is tau max is equal to TR over IP. Replacing tau max, the equation becomes T rho over IP. So this equation is a generalized Taurian formula, and we see once again the shear stresses vary linearly with the radial distance from the center of the bar. Angle of twist. The angle of twist of a bar of linearly elastic material can now be related to the applied torque T. By combining the equation of shear stress at the outer surface of the bar, that was tau max is equal to gr theta, with the torsional formula, that is tau max is equal to tr over ip, we get an equation for rate of twist theta, that is theta is equal to t over g ip, in which theta has units of radians per unit of length. However, this equation shows that the rate of twist is directly proportional to the torque T and inversely proportional to the product of G IP. Here the product of G IP known as the torsional rigidity of the bar. However, for a bar in pure torsion, the total angle of twist phi equal to the rate of twist times the length of the bar, and it is expressed as phi is equal to theta L. Put theta is equal to phi over L in above equation, the equation of angle of twist. After putting this value, the equation for total angle of twist phi is equal to TL over G IP, in which phi is measured in radians. However, the quantity G IP over L called the torsional stiffness of the bar. It is the torque required to produce a unit angle of rotation. The torsional flexibility is the reciprocal of the stiffness, or L over G IP, and it is defined as the angle of rotation produced by a unit torque. Thus we have the following expressions for torsional stiffness and torsional flexibility. Kt for torsional stiffness is equal to GIP over L. However, the expression for torsional flexibility that is symbolized with Ft is L over GIP. So these quantities are analogous to the axial stiffness and axial flexibilities of a bar in tension or compression. Stiffness and flexibilities have important role in structural analysis. So the equation for the angle of twist provides a convenient way to determine the shear modulus of elasticity G for a material. By conducting a torsion test on a circular bar, we can measure the angle of twist phi produced by a non-torque T. Then the value of G can be calculated by using the equation of TL over G IP. Now we will discuss about circular tubes. Circular tubes are more efficient than solid bars in resisting torsional loads, as we know that the shear stresses in a solid circular bar are maximum at the outer boundary of the cross section and zero at the center. Therefore, most of the material in a solid shaft is stressed significantly below the maximum shear stress. By contrast, in a typical hollow tube, most of the material is near the outer boundary of the cross section, where both the shear stresses and the moment arms are highest, as shown here in figure. Thus, if weight reduction and savings of material are important, it is advisable to use a circular tube. For instance, large drive shafts, propeller shafts, and generator shafts usually have hollow circular cross sections. However, the analysis of the torsion of a circular tube is almost identical to that for a solid bar. The same basic expressions for the shear stresses may be used. Of course, the radial distance rho is limited to the range of R1 to R2, where R1 is the inner radius and R2 is the outer radius of the bar. However, the relationship between the torque T and the maximum stress is given by the equation of torque. That is the equation T is equal to dm integral, or we can also express this equation as tau max over R rho square dA. This equation already discussed in previous sections in detail. However, the polar moment of inertia of the cross-sectional area of a tube for the case of circular tube is Ip is equal to pi by 2 R14 minus R24 minus R14. We can also express this equation in the form of dia pi by 32 D24 minus D14. However, the preceding expressions can also be written in the following form. Ip is equal to pi RT over 2 4R square plus T square, or we can also express this as pi dt over 4 D square plus T square, in which R is actually the average radius of the tube equal to R1 plus R2 over 2. In the same way, D is the average diameter, and it is expressed as D1 plus D2 over 2. Here T is the wall thickness equal to R2 minus R1. If the tube is relatively thin so that the wall thickness T is small compared to the average radius R, we may disregard the term T square from the above equation. With this simplification, we obtain the following approximate formulas for the polar moment of inertia. Ip approximately equal to 2 pi R cube T, and also expressed it as pi D cube T over 4. Now we will discuss about the shear stress distribution in a tube as already shown in figure. From the figure we see that the average stress in a thin tube is nearly as great as the maximum stress. I am repeating again, we see that the average stress in a thin tube is nearly as great as the maximum stress. This means that a hollow bar is more efficient in the use of material than is a solid bar. When designing a circular tube to transmit a torque, we must be sure that the thickness T is large enough to prevent wrinkling or buckling of the wall of the tube. Other design considerations include environmental and durability factors, which also may impose requirements for minimum wall thickness. Limitations. The equations discussed in this lecture are limited to bars of circular cross sections, either solid or hollow, that behave in a linearly elastic manner. In other words, the loads must be such that the stresses do not exceed the proportional limit of the material. Furthermore, the equations for stresses are valid only in parts of the bars away from stress concentrations, such as holes or abrupt changes in shape, and away from cross sections where the loads are applied. Finally, it is important to emphasize that the equations for the torsion of circular bars and tubes cannot be used for bars of other shapes. Non-circular bars such as rectangular bars and bars having eye-shaped cross-sections behave quite differently than do circular bars. For instance, their cross-sections do not remain plane and their maximum stresses are not located at the farthest distances from the midpoints of the cross-sections. So in this lecture, we discussed the circular bars of linearly elastic materials in detail. Thank you for your attention.